Hey y'all, I'm Warren with ASW Taxidermy, and I'm going to be showing y'all how we mount up squirrels today. So what we got here is about medium-sized eastern gray squirrel. It was the little boy's first squirrel he ever got, and his daddy wanted to get him mounted up, so that's what we're fixing to do. We've got a mold from LZ's squirrels. They are the best molds around. I can't say enough good things about them. Fortunately, we didn't have one on hand that would fit this guy just right. So we had to add some of this critter clay to him to make just give him a little bit more girth because this guy was a little chunky. They're kind of thick this time of year. So all the prep work has already been done. He has been skinned, you can tell. Feet, still has his little toes. He's already been fleshed. He's been washed. He's been dried. The bullet holes have been sewn up already. So really, we are ready to just jump right in. So what I like to start out with is turning him inside out. Get him inside out like that. Get some of this borax. Just drop on the table. Break up some of these bigger chunks. And really just cover this guy good in it. You don't want to have these chunks on him. But you do want him to be pretty much completely coated, right? Because this is the preservative. He's not being pickled and tanned or anything like that. This borax is the preservative. So we want to have it in every nook and cranny. I like using the fine stuff. You can get more granulated, thicker chunks, but I really prefer the fine. It just seems to work well for what we're trying to do. And it's not quite as messy as the other stuff either. Alright, so we got the main bit of him done, not his face. We gotta get his face. Alright, now we've got the main bit of him covered up in the borax, right? But we've got to get it everywhere. We've got to get it down in these little arms. So what I like to do is grab a pencil. And here I was thinking I had all my stuff laid out ready to go. I didn't. Just pencil. I like to use the eraser side. Open up his little armhole just a little bit. Pencil in. Kind of work it down. Don't force it. Especially on these smaller squirrels. If you force it in, you're going to break them. And that's not good because then you're having to do more sewing than you should, and you don't force it. Just sprinkle a little bit of borax in. You can be messy with it, it doesn't matter. Get in to his little arm because you want to make sure you're getting it all the way down. So make sure the arm's straight and just kind of work that borax all the way. And you want to get it into every finger, everywhere. Because again, this is a preservative. If we don't preserve him, he's going to start to rot. And if he starts to rot, we're going to have one pissed off customer. You don't want that. You want to make people happy from the very beginning. You don't want them coming back pissed off because their squirrel rotted away. Or a bobcat, or deer, or whatever, right? So, other front arm, I like to do the front arms first. That way I'm not sitting there and turning him inside out, back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. Find the armhole, pencil, open up the armhole. See the armhole's right there. A little bit of borax. Pencil. And again, just work it all the way down that little arm. All the way down to the foot. And then you start working it on the foot and make sure you get it into each toe. Something interesting about this guy, he's missing a toe on every foot except for this one. I don't know what the squirrel is doing. He's only got 3 toes. On this front leg, he should have 4. He's only got 4 toes on this back leg. He should have 5. And this one, he's only got 3 toes on this back leg, and he should have 5. I don't know. Don't know what's going on with him, if he was fighting, or there was a lot of predators in this area, or I can't tell you. Don't know. I do know he's missing a bunch of toes now. So here we are in the back leg. Again, pencil in. Work it down as far as you can easily. This one, it slid all the way in, which is nice. Go ahead, bring it down. Borax. This stuff is cheap, so you can be a little messy with it. It's fine. In, Slide it back in like so. Work it down. When you're doing this, hold the skin. Don't hold the fur. If you hold the fur, you're likely to pull some out, and then you're going to end up with a patchy looking squirrel, and you don't want that. So be careful. Don't pull the fur out. All right, one more back leg to go, and then the tail. Again, you got to get it everywhere. Work it down the leg. Hey, we got all in. I like it. I like it. A little bit more borax. We're almost done with the borax. You won't have to hear me say that anymore. Work it in, work it all the way down. Make sure you work it into the toes. Man, this is just so interesting how he's missing all these toes. They're well healed though. We shouldn't have any problems when we put clay in. Cool. All right, on to the tail. Let's see if we can use what's on the table. All right, the tail, especially on these smaller ones, is an itty bitty little tiny hole right there, right? What I like to do is I'll actually use, this is from Elsie's. This is a flexible tail. They're awesome. I like them. I know that you can just get your own wire and use some clay and make your own mold, but I just really like these flexible tails. To me, they're worth the extra bit of money. So I'll take one of these and I'll work it down into the hole. What I really like to do is hang it off the edge of the table so it's just nice and flat, and then flat, nice and straight. Work it all the way down until you hit resistance. The resistance is the end of the tail. And we are going to poke through later, but you don't want to right now. So now our tail is nice and opened up. Pull that out and just sprinkle a little bit of borax in. You don't need much. I go a little bit at a time. Because if you put too much in at once, you're going to end up with a clog in there. And then it's going to be a mess trying to get it out. You're going to have your squirrel upside down, poking at it, trying to get it out, and it ain't going to want to come out because it's moist in there, so the borax is sticking to it. Or you're going to end up having to take your razor or scalpel or whatever and have to make a little slit, get the extra borax out so that your tail will fit in. You don't want to do that. So just go a little bit at a time. Use your tail or your tail rod and just work it down in there. What I like to do is go all the way to the end every time. And that way you know you're not blocking it off with borax. Because you don't want to do that. It can be a bit of a hassle. So again, just a little bit. I mean, we're talking little pinches, little bit at a time. But you do want to have the whole thing coated. So here I am telling y'all, don't put in too much, but make sure you coat the whole dang thing. I know. It's confusing. It's just one of those things that you learn with experience. So a little bit at a time. Work it in, work it all the way around, get that entire inside skin coated. Okay, I can feel borax right here at the very tip of the tail. So we have made it. And I can feel the little grains all the way through the tail. So we know we've done it. So that's good. We're good to go. Next step. Borax out here. Next step is going to be working with this critter clay. This stuff, you've got 30 to 45 minutes, or no, 30 minutes to an hour to work with it. So I'll just take out a little bit at a time and then put it right back into the Ziploc bag. And that's going to be for his toes. And depending on the kind of mount that you have, okay, on this guy, these are his hands right here. So all we need to do is fill in his toes. Same with the back. Some of them, which I don't have any to show you, some of them won't have the little feet. They'll just have little nubs right here. You've got to fill in the whole foot pad and all that. But on this one, we don't have to do that. So on this little guy back here, we did. This is one we did a couple days ago. He's still drying. He's rough and raggedy looking, but he will look nice when he's getting ready to go back to the customer. But we had to fill in all these feet. Again, he just had little nubs. So you got to pay attention to what kind of mount you're getting and what needs to be done with them. So, again, I like to start with the front feet because turning them inside out, right side out, inside out, right side out gets a little boring after a while. So take a little bit of clay, a little bit bigger than a BB, maybe about the size of a pea, and you work this down the leg hole. This is where the pencil comes in handy again. Now this you really don't want to push because you'll just smush your clay, and then you'll end up with clay in the arm and you have to work it out. Just work it down to the wrist. Sometimes it'll go through, sometimes, hey, it went through, cool. All right, this time it went through. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So then you just want to work it out to the end of the toes, or work it to the base of the toes, and then pick a toe or two and start working it in. And you want to be gentle when you're doing this because you can split in here, in between the toes. It's really easy if you squeeze just a tad bit too hard, you can split that, and you'll know because you'll see the clay come pouring out. And that's not fun because then you need to stop what you're doing, get your needle, get your thread, sew them up. Some folks will use super glue, and that works. I have used super glue in the past. I prefer to use needle and thread because super glue, it does work. It's just, it's kind of messy and you don't end up with the right shape the majority of the time. Sometimes you do, don't get me wrong. I've seen some guys work where I would have thought it was sewn up and it was super glue. But I don't know, I prefer the old school method. Super glue has its place in this profession. It definitely does. Just not on squirrel toes, in my opinion. But then again, like the old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Well, there's more than one way to sew up a squirrel. So to each their own. This is the way I do it. We've added a second ball of clay now, and we are working it down past the wrist, working it down into the foot pad, and then into the toes. And you see how the toes aren't flopping? Oh, okay, they're a little floppy, but they're not flopping over like, say, these guys. That means we're getting clay in them. That's good. But you don't necessarily want to hurry per se, but you don't want to be sitting there fooling around either because this stuff will harden or start to harden, and then it kind of becomes a pain in the butt to work with. And yeah, so just work. Don't sit there and fool around making YouTube videos and waving squirrel paws at people. Okay. Looks like we're going to need just a tad bit more for this front paw. Right front paw, I should say. So again, little ball of clay into the leg hole. Shake it down. Get your handy dandy pencil. Ooh, I didn't just say handy dandy pencil, did I? What was that from? Blue's Clues? That shows how old I am. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to blame that on my kids. Yeah, I got kids. It's their fault, not mine. I didn't watch it. That's from my kids. Yep. True story. Did I mention it's about 11 o'clock at night and I've been up since 4:30? Yeah, a little tired, a little goofy. But the squirrel is a bit of a rush job, and I've got a full day tomorrow. We have a bobcat rug that I'm finishing up, and I believe there's 11 or 12 coons over there that need to be fleshed and then put into the pickle, along with a bobcat hide that is going to go on a mount that you can't see that's behind you. And there's a doe ass over there that's defrosting also. You're like, what, a doe ass? Yes, it's the hind end of a deer, and it's going to be going on that rougarou mold right there, which is going to be really neat. I'll probably end up making a video on that too because I'm very excited to make a rougarou. All right, paw number one is done. Now we switch over to the other paw. Get another chunk of clay, open it up. Same thing as before, find the leg hole, clay into the leg hole, kind of shake it down if it'll go. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. If it doesn't, pencil, work it on in without pushing it. You don't want to smear the clay inside the leg. All right, we're in the paw. We're going to need more clay on this one because this guy actually has 4 toes on the front. He has the correct number. But we don't judge. I don't care if your squirrel's got 3 toes, 4 toes, 11 toes. We'll mount them for you however you want. Just work this clay in, being careful not to split anything. We are going to need more clay, it looks like. So grab up some more clay. Open him up again. Down the leg hole. I didn't go far at all that time. Poke it on down. We're hung up at the wrist. Sometimes you can just give it a little squeeze, just a little gentle squeeze to pop it past the wrist. And it worked. Cool. Let's go ahead and get these other toes filled in. That one's good. That one is not good. This one is not good. All right, we're gonna need more clay. But that's fine, we got loads. I think there's a 30-pound block sitting over there. Just keep on working it in. A little bit of gunk or something between his toes, and he's already been washed too. You know, you can see how they're starting to stand up nice and straight. Yep, that means there's clay in there. We need just a tad bit more. And then we're moving on to the back feet. Chunk. No, I don't need that much. That should do it. This is the boring part, all the prep work. Once you start working them on the form and really making a skin and some styrofoam look like a squirrel, that's the fun part to me. Any animal, really. All the prep work is building up to the fun. Some people enjoy these steps. I don't. I prefer working the hide onto the mount and seeing that finished product. That's where I really enjoy it. There's just something about taking, a hide and some foam and turning it into a critter that someone's going to hang up on their wall and cherish forever. It's neat. Especially ones like this, where this is that little kid's very first squirrel ever. Like, that's neat. That's just so cool. I remember my first squirrel. I did not get him mounted. We didn't have a whole bunch of money to get him mounted at the time. But it's cool. I really do enjoy doing stuff like this, especially for little kids. They'll remember that for the rest of their life. Heck, I'll be dead and gone, and this kid's still going to have this squirrel hanging up on his wall, hopefully. So that's just neat. Something neat to think about. All right, front paw, done. Moving on to the back paws. You're going to need more clay. We're going to start with a three-toed foot. This is so goofy. I wonder what happened to him. If he's been fighting or I don't know. I just don't know. But we'll get those three toes filled up. Now, I've seen squirrels missing a toe before, or two toes, or heck, I've seen squirrels missing a foot. But not 1, 2, 3, 4. Not missing 4 toes on 3 feet. Like, that's something else. Same concept as the front. Pencil, clay ball in the leg hole, work it down. And sometimes it'll get hung up right here at the ankle, I guess you would call it, where it goes from leg to this pad. So you just kind of give it a little squeeze. Not enough to get it to stick to anything, but just enough to reshape it a bit to get down into this foot. If it's not going, like this one is not going, stop. Just get up behind it and then just work it down. You can leave some clay behind doing it like this, but after a while and some practice, you'll know just what you're doing. It is not that difficult. See how that toe is starting to stand up? That's clay getting pushed up into it. So that's that one. Now we've got these other two over here. Cool. We're going to need a little bit more. Pinch off a little chunk. Again, need a little bit bigger than a baby. Maybe like pea sized. Head, clay, leg hole, da 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 da. Repeat. Shake it down if you can. If you can't, get your pencil. Your pencil. Squirt or squirt. Push it down, not squirt it down. I'm tired. It's been a long day. It's hung up at the ankle again, but that is fine. Move it down. All we're really looking to do, we've got the two outsides filled up. It's this floppy one in the middle that we're working on filled up. Once that is filled up, we are done with this one. On to the last foot. And then we get to have the fun, which is working the hide onto the mannequin. And then sewing them up and being done. This one is running down a tree, looking to the right. So we're going to end up having to pin him onto some cardboard just while this clay dries. And then eventually we will put a little hanger on his belly. And that way he can be hung straight onto a wall or a bark slab or whatever display option they want to go with. I tried to sell the man a bark slab to put him on. He didn't want to, but that's cool. A lot of people will either hang them directly on the wall, or I've seen driftwood, old barn wood. That looks really nice. People get creative with it. Oh, there we go. That paw's done. On to the last one. Same thing. Ball, leg hole, clay ball into leg hole, shake, see if it'll go down. It won't. Every now and then it will. Work it down with your pencil or other blunt poking device. Don't want to use something sharp. Ooh, hey, we got a good move on that one. See, I'm holding back here. I've seen people pinch the fur and then push. Man, that's bad. You'll pull fur out, or you can pull fur out, and you don't want to do that. Don't want to do that at all, because once it's out, it's real difficult to get it back. Why put yourself in that position when you don't have to? Okay, we'll start with this little one over here. A little bit more. Could work it over to these three on this side. Yeah, these are all well-healed injuries. It looks like it was just chopped right off. Interesting. Yes, I'm tripping out about squirrel toes. I do that. Weird? Yeah, probably. My wife would say it's weird. All right, more clay going in. Shake. Hey, we actually got a little ways down that time. Our pencil. Work it into past the ankle. We're almost done with this last foot right here. That one's good. If you have a little bit of extra clay there, which I do with this foot, I'll take it and just push it right up along the inside of the toes instead of trying to get it back out. Some people will try to get it back out. Unless your foot is full, I don't see a need to try to get it all back out, because you can just work it up right here along the base right here, and that's just fine. You know, unless it's, you know, you've got like a nickel-sized chunk in there, it's much too big. That this works just fine. Okay, feet are finished. Now on to the fun part. Get the excess borax off his eyes and his nose and all that. His is, yes, his. Squirrels don't have pronouns. It's him and her. Oh, it's late and I am skipping steps. And I don't know where my razor knife is. You could sit there and put this in and try to force the hide around the legs. What I like to do, which is a lot easier for me, is just take the legs off. If it's like this, there are some that you can do whole, but for me it's just so much easier to take the legs off and then hot glue it back together when I'm ready to go. Oh. Chop the leg off. Make sure the glue gun is plugged in and ready to go. Chop the other leg off. And you can add pins if you really feel like you need to. But since this guy's going to be a wall hanger, I don't anticipate people, you know, kids playing with him. So I'm just going to hot glue him. But you could potentially use some of these long hat pins and run them through and then just cut the end of the pin off. I have done that plenty of times. In fact, I just did that one on, which one? This little raggedy looking one right here. But for this one, because he's going to be a wall hanger, he's not going to be sitting down somewhere for someone to fiddle with. I don't see a need. We just go ahead and get him de-armed. Is that the right term? Oh, there we go. Just like so. Did that just happen? Well, apparently our wax didn't take too well on his cheeks. And here's a piece here, and here's a piece way over here. Okay, we're not leaving it like that. What we're going to do is rough up his cheeks just a little bit more. This is just a flat on one edge, toothy on the edge, other edge little tool. I use it for fleshing, but you can also use it for scoring hide, or not hide, scoring mannequins, which is what I'm going to do right now, just to make sure that the wax is somewhere a little bit more scratchy, layered. What's the term I'm looking? I don't know. Anyway, it makes it easier for the clay to adhere to. Did I see wax? I did. It makes it easier for the clay to adhere to it. I'll just scuff it up real good, just like you would on any kind of mount or any kind of mannequin that you're going to use hide paste on. Just scuff it up real good. I had used my little wire brush, but apparently that wasn't good enough. That's fine anyway. We had a little bit of time to kill waiting on that hot glue gun to heat up. Alright, that should work. Normally you wouldn't need to do this. These LZ squirrel mounts are fantastic. Every single squirrel I've ever done this one with LZ's mount, they're just great. Normally don't have to do this much prep to them, but because that squirrel is, what was he? He was 9.5 by 6.5, And this mold is 9 1/4 by 5 1/4. So we need to beef this guy up just a little bit. But this is the one they wanted, and I didn't have one like this in a bigger size in stock. I could have ordered one, but they didn't want to wait, and that's perfectly fine. They were excited, and you know what it's like to be excited about something and want it soon, sooner rather than later. There we go. Make sure it's even. Yep, looking good. Back is still looking good from all this handling. Ooh, there's a little scuff right there. That's fine. All right. Put the clay back. I did that clay work while he was drying after he got washed, and you can see this is one of the pieces that wasn't as cheap. It is already just crumbling and breaking apart. So this stuff sets up pretty quick. So limited amount of working time. All right, that is nice and warm. So we are going to go ahead and first things first, work both arms into his front arms. So mount, make sure you know which side is which. That side is that. So squirrel, inside out, again, I know. Right arm goes into the right arm, like so. And you just gently work it in, not pulling on the fur. You do not want a half-bald squirrel. They stop looking like squirrels and start looking like naked mole rats. Oh, ever seen one of them? Google it. Scary. Well, you work it all the way in. The best way I found to do it is take your thumb, shove your thumb in there, and just push gently. Everything that you do is forceful yet gentle, if that makes any sense at all. And there we go, we're on. How's the fit? Oh, it looks good. I'm digging that. All right, other side. There's a spot that's not too dry. Oh, that's okay. All of the mounts, like that scraggly looking guy back there I keep talking about, they have just been completed, and we like to let them set for 3 or 4 days just to make sure that all the glue, I was about to say wax again, the clay, whatever we're using on that particular mount hardens up, and then we'll go back and make sure they're nice and clean and blow out their fur if necessary or whatever, comb them, just make them look nice and pretty. Um, the squirrels, we will use hairspray on the tail just to get it into whatever position either the customer or we think is best. And yeah, so they don't leave the shop looking scraggy like that. That's just how he looks at the moment. But here we go. Squirrel with arms. Now, take them, put them on their mannequin. Unroll them kind of like a sock, right? Work it on over that head. I am pulling on the fur, but I'm being so gentle it's not even funny. All right, get it onto his face. And you don't have to be specific at all right now. No exactness, just get it roughly where it needs to be. Roll it back. This way you can hot glue your legs where they're supposed to go. Don't worry, if you bend the toes, you can bend them back. See, that one's going to be pretty easy to reach. What about this one? This one's going to be harder, so we're doing this one first. Always test fit, figure out which one's going to be harder, and do that one first, always. That way, you're not sitting there, got your easy one done, and then you're sitting here fooling with it for 15 or 20 minutes because it's harder to get to it because you didn't check. So I've got the base exposed, test fitted up. Yep, fits good. Grab the hot glue gun. Put a good glob of it right there. Sometimes you have to do it twice because the glue will melt the foam. I'm hoping that's not the case on this one, but we will see. Re-expose that base of the leg without getting the hide in between. Go ahead and just put it on, make sure it's lined up the way it's supposed to, and just hold it. And hold it until that hot glue dries. It doesn't take long. If you work with hot glue, you know it sets up real dang quick. Oh, it is there. Give it another minute or two just to harden up. Remove any excess, because you don't want to hot glue the hide to the mannequin. You don't want to do that. Looks pretty good. Feels pretty good. He's nice and even. All right, let's go on to the other side. And then because I didn't wait long enough, I'm going to knock this side off. It happens. Oh, I did. I actually did. I knocked this side off just like I thought I was going to. All right. Cut, edit, retake. Wait, I'm the editor. I'll leave it there. Okay. Take two. Right arm again. Add glue. Glue arm to mannequin without getting the hide in between. Make sure you've got it lined up the way it needs to be. You can feel if your seams are right, and just hold it there 30 seconds or so. And his toes are all jankety janked up, but that's fine. We got a little bit of time to fix them. And we've got a piece of cardboard right over there. When we're done with him, we're going to get him pinned to, or not pinned, but we're going to set him onto the cardboard and have each toe pinned the way we want it. And that way they harden exactly the way we want it to look, and we won't have to worry about them moving in the future. Now, back over to the left leg without messing this one up again. Okay, should be good. Be a little bit more gentle. Add the hot glue, which I'm running out of. But I planned ahead, and I've got an extra glue stick. Okay, hot glue is added. Carefully bring up the other end of the arm without gluing the hide in between the two halves. Push it together. Make sure it's lined up the way it is supposed to be. This one's not. There we go. And then just hold. All right. Looking pretty good. This side is good and hard. This side is lined up. Nice. All right, feels good. Go ahead, if you got some glue strings, get them off. Fix toes as needed. Now, just work it on down. Don't worry about the face right now. We will come back to the face once he is completely on the mannequin. On this particular squirrel, I didn't do the normal cut that you would do along the different colors of the hair, the white underside to the brown outside. I did not cut there. I cut more along the inside of the legs, just because of the way this mannequin is. If we were to cut right along the back, well, then you'd have stitching right here. And while we can hide it, we do hide it pretty well. Excuse me. it's just a lot easier if your stitching is somewhere where it can't be seen. So this guy is going to be a wall hanger. He's going to be running down the wall. So put it on the other side. There we go. Another foot on. And now for the last foot. We are getting there, y'all. I don't know how long we've been going. I've been slowed down a bit by trying to narrate what I'm doing. But that's alright. Hopefully y'all enjoy this. Y'all stuck around this far. We're almost done. So hang out a little bit longer. Alright, work it up. Pull it around. Hey, looking good. He's starting to look like a squirrel, isn't he? Starting to. We getting there. Alright, it's tail time. What the heck is that? Okay. Alright, tail. This is definitely going to need to be cut. Definitely. Especially on a smaller one like this. So, again, I like to hang the tail off and start working it down gently without poking any holes. Okay, we have hit the base of the tail, the end of the tail. Now this is going to get pushed through. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's so you can use this rubber part to fill up the base so it's a full tail, it's not some scrawny little tail. And two, most squirrel taxidermists won't use the entire length of the tail. They'll run the rod through the entire length and then poke it through the end and scoot the tail back just a little bit to give it a fluffier appearance. A lot of squirrels' tails are actually kind of raggedy and thin, especially on younger ones like this guy. So by smushing it down just a little bit, it gives it a much more bushy appearance. It looks nicer. We're going to go ahead and poke it through the end, work it down just a little bit more. What we're trying to do is get the base right here almost to the end of the rubber. Y'all can see that. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're aiming for. So just work that tail down a little bit. And in fact, I didn't have to cut any off of this one. That's nice. Okay, now this exposed rod right here needs to get shoved into the mannequin. That way it supports the tail. So I like to bend it and then start working it into the tail section. Okay, and it bent. That's all right. That is all right. Take two. Start pushing that. There we go. Push it in. Make sure that you're going at a good angle so it doesn't come poking out back, bottom, side, whatever. And just work it in. Just bend it like I just did. Grab some pliers if you need to and work that rod in. Okay, we are to my bend. So we bend it straight and then just continue to work it in. Ooh, that's probably going to bend again. There we go. Keep going. And you want the rubber part to snug up to the styrofoam part. So just voila, like so. Pull everything in and it's almost time to start stitching. It is time to start stitching. Put the little guy on his back, get your needle. You can use either a straight needle or a curved needle. I prefer the curve. These are not Walmart needles, these are taxidermy needles. They are sharpened on 3 sides and they work extremely well for going through hides, leather, that kind of thing. I prefer curved because I can just work it through. Some people prefer straight, really. It's whatever you want to use. Get a nice long section. That's too much, but I'd rather have too much than too little. Ooh. Y'all hear the coyotes? Hopefully they're going towards my traps. Probably not. We haven't caught a coyote all season, but that's all right. haven't really had much time to do trapping. Been stuck in this shop. All right, there. Hang on. Ooh, them coyotes are going. All right, there we go. A needle has been threaded. Threaded? Needle has been threaded. I like to start right smack dab in the middle. So find the center of your cut, which on here is right about there. And poke it through, and then find the center on the front. Poke that on through. And now that he's centered, you can work one way, tie it off, and then come back and then work the other way, tie it off. And that way you know you got everything lined up the way it's supposed to be. Oh, pull it on through. And I know there's all kinds of fancy sewing knots and all that. I use square knots. I like square knots. Don't judge me. So, just like in Boy Scouts, right over left, pull snug, not tight. Don't pull too tight. You'll pull the line right through the hide. And then left over right. Tighten it up. There we go. Now we can commence sewing. Yeah, I was talking to my mama the other day on the phone. And I said, Mama, I bet you never dreamed that you'd be sitting here having a son that sewed for a living. And she started laughing. She was all, nope, I really can't say that I did. So that was interesting. That was probably one of the hardest things for me about learning taxidermy was learning how to sew. I'd never tried sewing, didn't know nothing about sewing, and here I am sewing. Heck, I got my own sewing machine. Go figure. But yeah, just stitch away. I use what's called a whipple stitch. Google it. I'm not going to explain. I'm running out of things to say here, and I still have more work to do, so I'm going to just try to hurry up and get through this. My wife's probably wondering why I'm out here this late, and if she can hear me, she's probably wondering who in the world I'm talking to, because I didn't tell her I was fixing to make a video. Well, just keep on stitching away. You want your stitches to be pretty close together. Now, I hope y'all can hear those coyotes. They are close. I wish it was legal here to hunt at night. But unfortunately, it's not. I'm going to keep on sewing. I might speed this part of the video up. Because who wants to watch some chubby bearded guy sew a squirrel for 10 minutes? Right? I know. Every time this line gets wrapped around his paw. One of the mistakes I see a lot of beginners making is they make their opening cut way too long, way too big. You don't need to make it that big, especially on like little squirrels, for example. They are so small and they are so flexible. You can make 6-inch, no, not 6-inch, like a 3-4 inch incision and work their legs out fairly easily. I've got about 1 inch more to go on this side, then the other side, and then we get to play with the face, which is my absolute favorite part. Okay, probably 4 more stitches, maybe 5. Almost went a little bit too far over on that one. I hope that thing's still recording. I'm gonna get done, and it's gonna say, "Oh, memory full," and it'll be like the first 3 minutes of this. That'd be funny. I wouldn't even be mad. I'd laugh about it. All right, we are gonna make one more little stitch, and then tie him off on this side. Beautiful. Be careful not to cut the fur. Now we start on the other side. And on these, I like to start at the end and then work my way to the middle and then done. And then we're on to the face. And after the face, it's going to be readjusting toes, figuring out tail angle, and then pinning him to that chunk of cardboard and calling it good. Now, I'm fixing to have to take a break and go see what in the world is going on with these coyotes. All right, here we go. Incision 2. That's the same incision. Incision part B. I don't know. It's getting late and I've been talking for I don't know how long. The second half of the incision. There we go. There we go. That's what we're going to call it. Unfortunately, I think my video stopped. That's not good. I wonder how long I was talking to myself and not y'all. Okay. Come on, squirrel, cooperate. So we got the one pin in the upper lip. I like to do the same thing on the bottom lip. Bring them up. And if you need some type of poking device, just to kind of push them in where you want them to be. And get that upper lip or lower lip tucked away over the incision that you made in the mannequin. And this pin is going to be directly below your other pin for the top lip, as you can see. Next, you're going to want to do the corners of the mouth. I've seen people make it look like they're smiling. I don't do that. I just go for a natural appearance. I mean, smiling squirrels are cute and all, but it's not natural. I like the natural look. Okay, his corners are pinned and his mouth is set. Now we go up to the eyes. I'll use 3 or 4 pins per eye. I know some folks only use 2. I'll use 3 or 4 per, just because I want him to have a certain look. So I'll start with the front corner and pin that one first. Then I'll go to the top, put a pin in there, go to the bottom, I can get a pin, go to the bottom, put a pin in there, and then go to the back and put a pin in there, because you don't want them to be completely oval, or I mean completely circular, you want them to be oval. That's how squirrels' eyes are. And if any of your borax is poking out now, is a great time to clean it off. You can do it later. I just like to get the majority of it now, and then on the final cleaning, we'll get all the little stuff when we're polishing the eyes and all that. So there's an eye right there. We've got one more eye to do, and then ears, and then we will be done. So pin the front corner like so. Top. Oh. No, maybe not that high. Go down a little bit. That was a very surprised looking little squirrel. Actually, I'm leaving him like that. That's a beautiful looking eye. Looking good, huh? All right, ears. We want the ears to stay straight upright. We don't want them falling over or curling or anything like that. So take a pin, put it on the inside of the ear, and then bend it in as you're pushing it in just a little bit, like so. Then you're going to come back and do the same thing, but on the outside. Push it. All right, y'all. I don't know when the dang video cut out, but it did. So I've been sitting here talking to myself for a good, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes probably. Anyway, here's our finished product. Turned out pretty good, seeing with what I had to work with. I'm pleased with them. He still needs the fine detail work done. You know, it needs to be clean, tail needs to be floofed and all that good stuff. But we're going to stop for now. Let all the wax, I keep calling it wax, let all the clay harden up, and then we'll come back in 4 or 5 days, get him nice and cleaned up, get him mounted to his actual bark slab that he's going on, not this hunk of cardboard, and then he'll be ready to go back to the customer. So if you watch this long video, thank you. It's much appreciated. Hope y'all have a good night or evening or morning or whatever the heck time it is for you right now. And stay tuned for the next one. Thank y'all.